Hi everyone, and welcome to the Icehouse webinar. Today it is a product-focused webinar and we are discussing our tailored coaching. We have Gareth Bayliss here, our sales manager at the Icehouse, and he is going to walk us through some frequently asked questions all about coaching. So thanks, Gareth. Appreciate it.
You are welcome.
Awesome. So we'll jump into our slide.
Cool.
So business coaching. First question we've got here is, who is coaching for?
Well, coaching is really for anyone who is a business owner. Often, I'd say 95% of our engagements are with business owners across the country, from the top to the bottom. We have coaches based everywhere, but also with what happened last year with COVID and Zoom, etc., we've actually seen a huge, larger engagement of people doing a lot of their coaching engagements via Zoom, but also not just business owners, some key staff. So staff who are normally GMs or 2ICs to the owner, people who have key roles within the business who might have to implement some changes or something like that. And in a sense of size of business, again, it's anyone really. We work with the smaller size businesses, especially around maybe market validation if they're kind of a new to business, a startup, if they want to validate the market before they take the product to market, to understand that they've got they've got a product that's going to be worthwhile spending a lot of money on and time before doing that. They can kind of work with us to validate that, and then also set the business up with a business plan and a structure. Or we have, much larger business owners who may feel a little bit overwhelmed or want a new direction or want someone who's from outside of the business with great acumen to bounce ideas off or to make some changes within the business. So yeah, really, it's quite broad. Often when people speak to us for the first time, it's our job to kind of really understand what the need is and the why, and then we work back from that.
Awesome. That's great. Next question we have is, how long do the Icehouse coaching arrangements go for?
Well, I guess how long's a piece of string? I mean, they're customized every time. We don't just have a kind of something that we pull off a shelf and then we replicate that every time. On the website, we have kind of like the 6 months and the 12 months. That is just kind of an indication of how long they can go on for. At the moment, I've got a 3-month coaching deal going on with a client, and they're working for 3 months only, and that probably will just be 3 months. They're working on a real specific need with the business. And then we have advisory board positions and chairs and people who work with businesses for a long period of time, so years, and they repeat it every year. And continue that for quite some time. So it's about what the need is and understanding what that is, and then we break that down into outcomes. So what the coaching outcomes are going to be each time. So I'd work with you, Bryar, on 3 specific things, and they are organizational structure, leadership within the business, and the financials, or something like that. They're quite general, but just those 3 things. We then contract that, and the coach and I and the client work together and say, that's going to be 30 hours, and we should probably do that over 3 months, and then that's it. It's contracted, and they work. So the client can keep the Icehouse accountable, and vice versa. The coach can keep the person who's being coached accountable, because that works really well in the sense of keeping everyone on track and making sure there's a good return on investment at the end of the coaching agreement. So yeah.
Awesome. So it's not just locked into that 3-month or 6-month or 12-month. It can actually be quite variable.
Yeah,
That's cool.
It has to be, because it's every single engagement with someone who we do coaching with is different. There's none the same. They are specific to the needs of the business owner and the business.
Awesome. Super helpful. Thank you. Next question is, what is the difference between coaching and consulting, which I think is quite an interesting one.
Yeah, it is quite interesting. I think that there's probably a few arguments around that, and the mentoring word that comes into it as well. The way I look at it is, I look at a coach as somebody who gives advice, who listens and works with with somebody to figure out what the need is, and figure out what maybe the issues are, or what the thing that they're going to build on to grow the business. So they're working with the owner to understand what that is and how to implement it, but they do not implement it. That is the owner's responsibility, or is the leader's, or is the person who's being coached responsibility. Consulting, my opinion of that is someone who is essentially employed on a contract basis for a period of time to go in and make those changes. If someone was to go in and make some serious organizational structure changes, you get a consultant to come in and work for that period of time on that issue, or those problems, or the new thing that the business is trying to implement, and then they leave and they go. Whereas often a coach is working on a specific thing. The person or the business or the individuals, they implement those changes. Often what we find is then they come back to us and say, that was brilliant. Now we want to look at a new marketing structure, or a new marketing idea, or changing the brand, or working with us to get more clients, and we're looking at our new marketing streams or something, and then we go in and work on the marketing with one of our great marketing coaches, or the financials, or the structure. It can be anything, but it's always specific. We help them with that, and they make the changes, and then we come in and help them with something else.
Great. Yeah, I think that implementing is probably the key word there too, in terms of a major difference between the two, who actually implements what's learning and stuff. So which is awesome. Great.
And it should be the business. I often think it should be the business owner or the business who makes those changes, because they're going to live it, and they're going to carry on. And a lot of the times we're working with small to medium sized businesses up to that kind of 50 mil to 100 mil turnover. A consultant, I'd often think, will probably go into a corporate and make changes. But again, there's probably an argument for that as well. Yeah,
cool. Awesome. That's great insights. What are some of the signs that you might need a business coach?
They're quite vast, I guess. I mean, I saw this before you sent through the questions. I thought it's a really good question. Again, no engagement's the same. We have some clients who come to us who they know what they want to do, but don't know how to do it. So they can vocalize what they want to make changes, or they need to do something, and they got that itch, but they can't scratch it because they don't know where the itch is. Do you know what I mean? There's that kind of thing. So there's that. They need help to understand what they need to do. There's others who feel overwhelmed and lonely. And, often when we work with business owners, or something I've learned for the number of years I've worked for the Icehouse, is that a theme is that you can have a lot of staff underneath you, but if you're the sole owner, or owners as a collective, it can be quite lonely at the top. And so often we have people who come to us who just want some assistance on, support, just actual moral support, and work around some specifics. We would then drill down to what the actual needs are of that individual, and work with them on that. Is it their own ability, or is it their own understanding of part of their business, or is it the future planning? So how are you going to get to the next 5 to 10 years, and actually make some changes to implement that? Some business owners who aren't getting the results in certain areas that they feel like they need, so they need to evaluate parts of their business plan. We have that. And someone who wants to possibly remove themselves as an owner in the day-to-day, so needs to restructure or do something along those lines, and actually understand what it is to be a managing director or a CEO of their organization, and how to start maybe restructuring part of the business so they can start taking less responsibility for parts of it, and start to be more of an owner who works. And people who've watching this will know I say this all the time, but people, owners who are working on it rather than in it in the day-to-day.
Yeah, that's great. So there's a real array of things, but also, just having that person to talk to and be vulnerable with and open up about, because like you said, it can be lonely at the top. So they can have someone that they can just, show all their cards and move forward.
It's interesting when people come to us and look for a business coach, they often Not all the time. Some business owners are different, but often they want to work with someone who's had experience in their industry. And I always question that a little bit, because they know they should, and they probably do really know their industry really well. So why do they not get someone who's been really has a high acumen of business, full stop?
Yeah,
May not have ever worked in the industry, because they can bring new ideas to it. And then what often happens is that a coach will work with a business for a period of time, and then perhaps will bring in another coach to do a few sessions on something specific that might be industry based. I've done that a couple of times in the agri sector. We've had coaches who have had no agri experience who would help an owner to look at new channels of distribution or something like that. And then when it comes down to the nitty gritty of the agri part of it, they bring somebody in and there's that experience to kind of help them for a wee while. So
yeah, that's great to be able to use the Icehouse network and have that flexibility, which is really awesome.
Oh, cool. We're really lucky to have over 20 years of experience, so that our network is now vast, and we have 30, 40 coaches who are specific Icehouse coaches dotted around the country, but those coaches have huge, vast networks as well as us. So there's always, if there's a problem or a really specific thing, we'll be able to find someone who has some experience who have dealt with that before.
Brilliant. Cool. Next one is, what does a good coachee look like, and how can you work to be coachable?
I think if someone knows that they need a bit of assistance and they are reaching out to us for support, they're often very coachable, because they've already had that awareness that they need support. I think that they need to be open, obviously, to ideas. They need to be open and also willing to be challenged. So, sometimes you can have some quite brutal conversations when you're saying, oh, this isn't working. Well, it's like, well, hang on, there's a theme here. You're a part of all of those things. Are you the issue? When someone has worked in their business, and often the owners who we work with have started from the bottom, have gone to the top, and they've grown their business and they've done bloody well, and they're, really good business owners, it can be quite a challenge for you to hold that mirror up and say, well, sorry, you're the issue. And also it can be quite challenging for someone who's come into the business for only 15 minutes and to say that to someone who's run the business for 15 years.
Of course.
But if you're open and understanding that the coach just wants the best and honestly, all of our coaches, the theme is that they want the best return on investment for what the client makes. They will not take on every coaching opportunity that me and the other sales team put in front of them. They won't. They'll actually evaluate it and say, can I offer value here? And if they say that, then they're going to go in, and sometimes they have to have some brutal conversations. And as long as the person who's being coached understands that that's for the greater good and it's not a personal attack, which, to be honest, I haven't really had in my time. I haven't really experienced that. Most times people are really open to making changes. I'd say one of the things that can be a little bit of a niggle is sometimes letting the day-to-day issues get in the way. So if you have a coaching meeting set up, that coach worked for a few hours before coming to that meeting to make sure they get the best from it, and then you get there and either the person may not be there physically or mentally might not be there because they're distracted by the day-to-day. That sometimes can be an issue because you can't stop that. So if you've got an insanely busy period coming up where you work in an industry, like the wines, and you're a winemaker and you've got harvest coming up, we don't book 10 hours of coaching during harvest, because you're just going to be distracted or bottling or whatever it is. So as long as they're open and they give it time and they implement it, that goes back to the consultant kind of piece. The coach isn't going to be there and make the changes for you. The owner and the person being coached has to do that. As if they're aware of that, then often it works out that it's a really good coaching agreement. Again, few and far between we have issues with that, because most of the time when people reach out and know that they want to get some outside help and they're paying the money, they'll listen and they will make the changes themselves. And that's what naturally then turns into, as we have often, is a coaching agreement that finishes, and then there's something else that comes out of it because the business probably grows or gets better in certain aspects, and then other challenges come out of it, and they see that we've added value, and they'll come back to us. And that's why we're still here now, and the brand is strong, and we continue to grow and help other businesses around the country, because we get good results through working with good people.
Yeah, that's great. Going into it,
you should put that as a quote. Good results.
Pulling that out as a quote you've seen on social media in a week. I think it's so true, though. I think being a coach, you've got to go in, with intentions and go, I'm going to give this my all. And, whether that means making sure it works in with a good time in terms of your yearly flow, so that you can sort of really implement and outwork the things that you're learning and give your all to it. And be focused and ready to go, which is great.
Totally. That's it. It's just openness and, be aware that you're going to have to make some changes and implement some things and work a bit harder in certain things you might not normally work on. That's, it doesn't agree. And that is sometimes a hard sell, right? You telling someone that they've got to pay us money to work with someone, and then they've got to pull up their sleeves and implement. It's not always that easy.
You've got to work harder.
Yay! But hopefully by the end of it, it's not always like that. But if they do have to make some changes by the end of it, there's a goal at the end, and that is that they work less in the business, or that the business is succeeding in areas they didn't think it would before, or there's
totally.
We've got lots of great stories to tell.
Yeah, great. Okay, what happens at the end of a coaching arrangement?
There's obviously it comes to a natural end often. There might be, as I said before, something else that might need to help, but often the owner is left for a wee while to implement and let those changes settle or make those changes. What naturally will happen eventually is that they've seen that it has been quite good value, or they've got a good return for the time and money that they've spent, and they'll come back to us and work with us in other ways. We have a lot of people who go through coaching, the businesses grow somewhat, and then they go on the owner manager program, because they've seen that that the people that we work with are really at really high level. And a lot of the people who we work with in the coaching aspects work on our programs as well, and are guest speakers or panelists or part facilitators as well. So continue that. Hopefully what they do is they say, wow, that was amazing. The Icehouse are great. I've got a friend down the road who owns a business who's struggling. You should come and speak to Gareth at the Icehouse, and then we continue the good word.
A true sales manager.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, to be honest, we don't ask that much, as much as I probably would like that we do, but we don't ask that much, for referrals. They come quite naturally, which is great. And a lot of the engagements that we do are from really great referrals from other people. So
totally. And we believe in the power of these products, that they really do, enable New Zealand businesses to grow, and we've seen that, which is really cool.
No, I mean, and if you look at the staff at the Icehouse, and you're a newer one, you've been with us over a year now, but still, if you look at the people who work there, we're all really passionate about what it is, and it's because it's not BS. It's stuff that we really believe in. And the coaches that we work with, we've got a number of new coaches recently, but our core coaches have been with us for a number of years and work in their own capacity with their own clients, but they still work with us and will continue to work with us, and they will juggle between Icehouse clients and their own, because we bring them good people and they believe in the people that we work with, and vice versa. So it continues to grow and go from strength to strength, which is great. And that's why we've now got some great coaches dotting up all around the country. We've got some in Bay of Plenty now, in Christchurch, in Wellington, whereas we've always been seen to be quite Auckland centric, which I don't think is necessarily fair, just because we're, as the staff are often work based in Auckland, and we've got the great shared space there as well. But often I'd say that, we've got good people based all around the country, and that is starting to grow even more now since lockdown as well. We've got some coaches reaching out to us who want to work with us, which is really exciting too.
Yeah, it's great. Lots of new coaches joining, which is awesome. Lots of expertise in different industries, and The community at the Icehouse is definitely growing in lots of areas, definitely including our coaching, which is great.
Yeah.
Now, I think our last question we've got here is, how can I find a coach through Icehouse?
Well, this is here when you just pull up my business card, right?
Yeah, definitely.
No, you get in touch, have a look at, I mean, you probably would be watching this through the website or through SoshMed, as you guys, the younger guys call it. But yeah, no, just get in touch with us via the website. If you've got my details, just come direct to me or yourself, Bryar, but just reach out and get in touch. And then just so people know how it would normally works is we talk to the people, we understand what the need is, and then we suggest maybe a coach who we think will be a good fit. And then they have a catch up with that coach, which is completely free. It's just a catch up just to talk about how the coaching would look. And then from there, we pitch how we pitch the work. So there's no pressure.
Yeah, that's a great element of being able to have that sort of first catch up with that coach to see if the synergy's there, if you're happy to keep moving forward before just being locked into something. I think that's really important.
I mean, imagine, the minimum of our coaching agreements are 20 hours normally, because that's a solid piece of time. To do something less than that, a lot of the time you're going to struggle to get real good outcomes out of it often. So that, let's say 15 to 20 hours minimum. When you think about spending 15 hours in a room with someone you don't really like, it's pretty awkward. or even on, so as much as the acumen and the business acumen is massively important, the relationship is important as well. So we want there to be that relationship, and often, 9 times out of 10 there really is. People kick it off pretty well and get on. And our coaches are all really nice people, and I'm not saying that because I'm flogging them a lot. They are good people, and with great experience, and are really passionate about helping Kiwi business owners. And so that comes across and gets good results.
Yeah, that's so true. Awesome. That's the end of the slideshow. Thank you, Gareth, for jumping on and chatting about our coaching product. Definitely valuable tool to have. And if you guys do have any other questions, like we said, feel free to get in touch with one of us or any of our team at the Icehouse. Any last words, Gareth?
No, good stuff. Good job, Bryar.
Awesome. Cool.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
See you soon. Bye.